Hello, and welcome to the How We Make It in New York podcast. I am Lauren, and this is my husband, Michael. And we decided to create this new endeavor together because not only are we partners in life, but also partners in business. And in both of our careers, we come across so many interesting and multifaceted people that were really successful. And we always want to learn more about them and truly, how do they make it in New York? Because this is a tough city. And personally, after living here now for 20 years this year, I really believe if you can make it here, then you can make it anywhere. So, Michael, why don't you tell our new listeners a little color on like who you are, what you do?
Sure. First, ba 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 na na ba ba. Listen, I love that song. I can't help it. But yeah, so I'm an attorney and I fight for the rights of everyday New Yorkers. I fight in court, in conference rooms, through filing legal briefs, and really my goal is to get my clients compensation because most of my clients have been through the ringer. And I do a lot of employment work. I do a lot of commercial litigation. And look, I'm a born and bred New Yorker, and I know just how hard it is to make it in this city. And I also know just how satisfying it can be to achieve any form of success here. So my clients know that when I'm in their corner, they have a leg up on their competition. And
Mhm.
Lauren, since you introduced us so beautifully, why don't you tell everybody a little bit of the things that you do?
Well, I truly live by the quote, if you want something done and you want it done right, give it to an extremely busy person. And I'm really busy. So for the past 10 years, I've been working in residential real estate as a broker. I'm with Compass out of Manhattan's office. I work with buyers, sellers, investors, landlords, family offices, really just anybody who wants to buy or sell property. And I've been fortunate to transact in almost every single neighborhood, every type of property, a Fifth Avenue co-op, a downtown new development, and an estate like townhouse, everything. And when I'm not doing that, I also am a professional working actress. So if you wonder if you've seen me or heard my voice, it's probably a commercial or a voiceover or some episode of TV or a film or something. I'm always doing everything. And aside being involved in a million different things, which I really don't know how I do it, to be honest, but it keeps life interesting. It allows me to meet so many people. And like I said, there's just really fascinating. Like I'll come home from work and I'll be like, you will not believe this guy that I met today. He has some insane, crazy business that he started from the ground up, and he's like making millions of dollars, and it's like crazy. And he's my new client, and I just want to like tell you about it. And I think people need to like just know and want to know about this, right?
Yeah, so I mean, our plan is to put together these episodes where we can interview some of the most interesting up and coming entrepreneurs, business owners, local New York people. And hey, who knows? Maybe even a celebrity or two might
Oh,
pop into our
yeah.
podcast. You never know. And we will find a way. Again, mark my words, we will find a way to get them to answer the core question here, the main question of our podcast. And that is, how do you make it in New York?
Very exciting. So, our first episode, we have our friends over at Fast Forward Dating, which is a dating app they put together and launched from just a single idea. So, let's dive into our first episode with Fast Forward Dating.
All right.
So, welcome to our first guest for our first episode. We have Katya Chernyak and Aeen Avini from Fast Forward Dating. It is a video dating app, and we're really excited to have you both here with us today.
Welcome, welcome. This is
Thank
so
you.
exciting. I can't
Yeah,
wait.
really. We're the inaugural guests. I love it.
Yeah.
We can't fail.
Very
There's no
exciting.
We got to
comparison.
start somewhere. So we figured let's start with some real gems, especially now that, it's February and love is in the air. And I know my lovely wife, Lauren, will have some questions. Why don't you start?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to jump in with like our first question, and then also maybe you can tell us a little bit about the app. But starting off, how did you come up with this idea for Fast Forward?
So neither he nor I are in the dating space officially as professionals, but we've dated online since its inception. I think I was one of the first people to use Match because I was a busy professional and just really didn't have time to go out and meet people in the real world. But I was constantly frustrated and telling Ayin about my frustrations, and he had the same ones when he did date, which was that I was meeting a lot of people online And then when I would take things offline in real world, they were completely opposite of what they were online. Like the pictures didn't really tell the truth. I couldn't really tell who they were, their personality, their vibe was off. Not to mention, Aeen and I have like a million anecdotes when we would meet people and they have like these crazy voices and like weird quirks. Something that someone else would just not mind, but for me, they were deal breakers, or just they weren't things that I was really willing to overlook. And so I was wasting a lot of time, and I was constantly telling like, there's got to be something out there that allows me to see someone beyond the pictures. And I saw that everyone else dating online, who I knew in New York, busy professionals who just didn't have enough time to sort of waste the time online, were frustrated. They were frustrated with online dating. So Aeen, to his credit, was like, well, what would you do about it? You know? And we had this, series of conversations over months and months and months about the idea of how there should be an app that allows you to kind of see that person as they were in real life, really honestly and authentically. And now there's this big movement towards authenticity and honesty, but I still think dating lags, right? Everyone wants to put on that shiny little armor, right? I don't know, I if you
Mhm.
have anything to add, but like we we knew that the best way to really have a real connection with someone is to show your real self, right? To show as you
Yeah.
are. Pictures may be the best angle, the best photo you ever take.
Just to
But like,
see if you just to see if you
oh,
like vibe with them, you know? It actually Katya came back from a date. I remember I won't say his name, but you came back from a date and you were like majorly disappointed. And um and as I had been, I actually met my husband on a dating app and we've been together for a very long time. But before I met him, it was a nightmare. You would meet someone and you talk to them for like a week and then you'd meet them in person and they were like completely, they didn't look the same, they didn't sound the same. Someone came to a date and they sounded like Elmo, and I
Oh,
I couldn't get over it. Very nice person, very, very nice person, but it was something that, as Katya calls it, it was a deal breaker. So I think actually that night is when we were just like, we just need to come up with something that gives somebody like a little trailer of a person, you
that's what
know?
it was.
Yeah,
Like, how there's a video, we were talking, I think we were actually going to the movies, and I was like, what, there's like trailers for movies, there should be a trailer for people.
yeah,
And I was
Mm,
like, yeah, someone has to come up with a way to give me a little teaser of that person so I don't waste my time,
yeah,
especially in New York, right? This whole like
mm,
podcast focuses on New Yorkers. No New Yorker will tell you they have time to waste, right? No one has time to
right.
waste. So just we wanted to come up with a dating tool um, that really doesn't force you to invest time in something that would never work in real life, right?
yeah.
The
Right.
reason why people prefer dating in real life, like meeting people in real life than online, because there's a lot of wasted time online. You don't know what you're getting. So I guess sort of just before I move forward, but like what we ended up coming up with was Twain's point. We want everyone on the app to have a little trailer, a little teaser of what they're like in real life by creating a video through our platform. We ask you a bunch of fun questions, and in the end, you get like a little story of that person that lets you feel like you're on the first date with them right off the bat. So you get to make a decision based on like vibes and energy and chemistry potentially, more than just a shiny picture, one-dimensional picture.
as we like to say, we can make a 6 into a 9.
That's amazing. That really is. So, because there's just so many dating apps out there, and just like in New York City, there are so many options. And I
There
think
are.
my wife and I, we kind of missed the boat when it came to like the full-fledged dating app universe.
You ruined it for
I
me.
think we were kind of lucky to miss it, maybe, or I think we
Yeah.
were lucky. But
You missed
anyway,
out.
so
I
I
missed
know
out on
you
a
kind
lot
of
of free dinners.
right. So
Oh,
you definitely
that's a good
touched
way of looking
upon
at it.
some of the highlights of fast forward, but ultimately, what would you say makes fast forward different from all the other dating apps out there?
Well, we are strictly video profiles. You don't have to write a profile. We have one photo that is your cover photo, and the rest of it is all video based. And you can only make the video through the app, where you can't filter it, you can't upload it, you can't change it. So it really gives the person a real view of who you really are. and everyone has to do it. So everyone's on, you know, a level playing field.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
And if
great.
I add, like, Mike, your point is very well taken. When Aeen and I started talking about the app, we knew that there's such a huge market um, of apps. We didn't want to make an app that has this like one little thing that's like, oh, not to hike on Bumble, but when Bumble came out, I was like, okay, like I have to message first. That seemed very gimmicky to me. Like it didn't really give me a leg up in dating, right? It didn't make me waste my time less, right? I felt that double matching allowed me the flexibility not to respond or whatever. I wanted somebody to make overtures. So we didn't want to make an app with just like a tiny tweak. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel, but we wanted to have a meaningful contribution and a meaningful improvement in your experience, right? Like we wanted you to feel like you're on a first date before you even swipe on that person. That's meaningfully different than just adding a tiny feature. So like fast forward at the end of the day, and I think it's really helpful for founders to think about it this way. You don't want it to be a feature that makes you different because anybody can adapt a feature. You want it to be the foundational component of your platform. And for us, the foundational component is showing yourself as you are, and we use video to do it. So that makes us really different because there's no other apps that are really using video the same, leveraging video the same way we are.
That's great.
Such a good idea.
That's great. So say somebody has an idea for an app. Maybe it's not a dating app, but some type of an app. Like what is the process from like idea to like implementation to actually creating it? Or how is it for you?
That was
First
really
you empty,
frustrating for
first
Aina.
you empty your savings account. No, I'm just, go ahead, Kat.
It's very different for everybody. We are both, Aina and I, very creative and know what we want, but we are not technical people. So for us, we had conceptually research. We did the research. We knew that this was missing in the market, and I think that's number one for anyone who has an idea. You have to validate it in the most lo-fi manner, right? Ask around, pick 50 people, ask them around. When we sort of validated that this was missing in the market, that and again, it's not necessarily the execution that was missing, but the idea of what we were trying to, the value add that we were trying to give, right? So the first thing is validating your idea, right? To make sure that it's not, you're not immediately diving into a very expensive production of the app. So that's number one. And that took us months. And as first-time founders, as non-technical people, that's a lot of poking around, playing in the dark and figuring it out. But like, now there's a lot of online data that exists. I think ChatGPT probably changed the game because it can aggregate that data more effectively. This before we were doing it, it was not. And once we validated the idea, the first thing you want to do is kind of make the most cost-effective MVP, right? And there is plenty of, if you're not technical, there's plenty of resources out there to have the most easy, like straightforward way of implementing, creating something called wireframes, which is basically frames and pictures of what your app will look like. For us, it was a little bit difficult because we're video based, so it's very hard to create like a static sort of frame. But we had an idea, like that was really, for Aeen and I, that was the most intense process. Like, how do we want to show the person? Like, and we came up with the fact that we want to ask you questions and the kind of questions, and we had to work with people to come up with these questions. But then we went into the sort of lo-fi sort of app version, right? And we tested it, and you tested with as many people as you could find, and then you tweak it based on people's feedback, right? People would say, I don't like this. The biggest feedback we had was around the number of questions and how you record it. At first, we did not allow you to re-record the questions. And, the feedback we got, for example, was that we want to re-record. So the reason you want to do that research before you start going into the development of the app, you want to sort of test it out with very lo-fi wireframes, is because it's very costly to then, once you've developed it, to
Change
undo,
something. Yeah.
Sure.
make that
We
change.
learned that.
We learned that the hard way because some
Yeah.
things didn't test sufficiently. Yeah, to be fair, I couldn't because we're video based, but we got a lot of really good insight. So once you get that insight, you kind of figure out and parse through what is truly doable and what should be punted until post MVP. And at that point, and this is really critical, find a partner you could trust. I think every app developer that we found uh, was really, unfortunately, not forthcoming. And that's really hard. I would advise anybody who is not technical and is hiring outside developers to do tons of diligence, tons of reference research, find communities. We were
Yep.
coming out of COVID, so there wasn't a lot of communities we could have asked. People were still very sort of reticent to socialize. But if you can find communities, get people's feedback,
Yeah.
because I'm an advisor on a couple sort of startup apps, and that's the biggest mistake they've made, right? They didn't do the research. We made that mistake. They went into the lowest cost production company, and all their money went down the drain.
You get what you pay for, right?
Sorry?
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
You think like there's really cost effective ways of executing things, and there are. I'm not saying there aren't, but they just didn't do enough research. They automatically sort of were very drawn to the lowest hanging fruit, which is the cheapest, which is fine for the lo-fi version. But we learned the hard way, when you're doing something and it has to be done well, you're gonna have to redo it if somebody's not, if they're
Yeah.
very expensive. If there's so many other kinks that we've learned, but that's basically the process, right? You come up with an idea, you validate it, create lo-fi version, and then go into development and find the right partners. Ultimately, our current technology partner is godsend. He is amazing, and we
Amazing.
now feel like we've earned him because we had to kiss a lot of frogs, but him, and he's wonderful, right? I don't know, Sean.
I don't even know how to describe him.
He's
We wouldn't be where we are without him.
Yeah, he's responsible, he's thoughtful, he really is committed,
And
and
he's very calm, especially when Katya and I are not.
yes, yes, I
Yin and
think
yang.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's probably the last portion. I would say, like, find the right uh partners in this, because there will be really, really difficult moments when you discombobulate and things aren't going well, and you need someone to like offset that negativity.
I think
And that for the other person too at some point, but it's really important not to have like a team where everybody has that sort of collapse simultaneously.
Well, that's why Michael and I tend to work because we're opposite energies.
Well, it's like opposite at the same time. You can't both be
Yeah.
like crumbling.
I mean, I'm always manic and he's always
Think?
usually calm. So,
Usually.
right? Right.
I try to be.
See, that's the
Yeah.
thing that you will be able to tell and fast forward.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
you
Oh, I want,
go.
you know what? I wonder if we met on Fast Forward, if you would, yeah, you would have liked my profile, right?
I think as long as you didn't indicate your level of
Mania.
mania,
Yeah.
you know,
I
I think
probably would have.
I may
Well,
have
I'm
been a
also,
little, I may have swiped left, or maybe that's another one. Sorry.
it's another app, but I'm actually a very good actress, so I probably would have like totally pulled it off as cool, calm, and collected. And then
Well, the key to success on any app, but fast forward particularly, is it's just like the key to success with dating. Like, it depends on what you want, right? So if ultimately you want long-term relationship and like you're intentional about dating, you want to be yourself. You want to put up your best foot forward, just like on the first date, but you sort of don't want to pretend, right? Because how I always say this to my friends who are like, well, I'm gonna be my perfect version until and Aeen tells me this, like, you
yeah.
should be like your most polished self. And I was like, at some point, this is all gonna, like, all the strings are gonna have to come loose, and it's just gonna be me. So I'd rather have that person have a sense of the real me
Right
sooner
now.
rather than later. Um, so yeah, so the success on any app, particularly fast forward, is just really not put your best foot forward, but not just be your real self, right? The authenticity, which
Mhm.
is an overused term, is key in really a lot of things you do, but particularly with dating, I think. Not even just fast forward, but particularly because you get to see that person right off the bat. So authenticity is everything, because you don't need 20 million likes and matches. You need people who really enjoy that energy and like you for you and you're authentically showing up, you're going to have better matches, not more matches.
100%.
Great.
So that leads into like, what's the most fun part of working on the app, creating the app? What's like been the best part of it?
Working together.
Oh,
We met in high school, so the fact that
oh,
we're doing this together is like, that's the best part to me.
Yeah. I think that's really the key to weathering a startup and entrepreneurial journey is find somebody who's like a life partner to you. It is kind of like dating. I always talk to folks who like ask me about the co-founder issue, right? Like because people will butt heads and it's like a breakup and it can ruin a company. And it is one of the most critical components is, are you going to go in with somebody and know that if everything goes wrong, you're still going to have a solid foundation together, right? And you can disagree, and Aeen and I, we
We
disagree,
disagree all the time, but
it doesn't shake anything. Like
yeah.
we can like, and I think that's really critical. You need to be forthcoming. You need to know when to take the reins and to let go of the reins. But for us, it's also like a real joy no matter what this experience. It's like we got to build something together and see it come out to the world and like be living, breathing. And it's a manifestation of our friendship, right? Like that we were able to
Yeah.
bring something that has to do with love and relationships.
I feel like I should play a Taylor Swift song at this point.
I don't know
You
a lot of
could.
Like a
songs.
friendship,
Good.
like a bracelet, right?
Oh, yeah.
But you know
Don't they do
what?
the
Oh, yeah, yeah,
bracelets?
yeah.
I can say for sure that I don't think we've had one argument throughout this, like none, throughout this process.
Right. We don't argue. And I think that's
I mean,
that's
we'll disagree on something. I hung
really
up on you, but I'll call you back in 3 minutes. No, but we've certain, all joking aside, I don't think, it's been such a, you know, when you pick someone like your best friend to do it with, it's like a different, it's just like a different thing,
yeah. For picking the right partner, really, just like in real
It's
life,
very
really
important.
critical. You need to know that that person will understand and will, I think we also know each other's pain points, like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But we don't try to push each other's buttons. And even when things are tough, I'm mindful, Aeen's mindful. We're
Or
not,
if one of us is being stubborn, we just, we're straight up about it. I'm like, you need to let this go. And, you know,
yeah. Yeah, but it's fun. But it's also like really fun. Like it's fun to see the thing you build come out into the world because we had talked about it and it was such a conceptual idea. Like we didn't just take an app, right, and like say we're gonna add different color to it, right? We came up with an idea that we didn't know. At some point, and I said to each other, "Is this even doable? Like the way we wanna showcase a person, the way we wanna bring value to the dating space, can like we even do it? And to see that it's actually being done." And
and
come
and now like actually being used by
yeah,
people,
and
Yeah.
often
like pretty
it's really,
amazing.
That's
it's
so
really exciting. Yeah.
That must be so satisfying. And that so nice to hear that you guys can work together as well as you do. And I hate to be a killjoy, but I do have to ask because rejection is everywhere in the dating game, in the game of love, and also being a startup, being an entrepreneur. So how do you deal with it? And what did you have to do to get the app off the ground and have to deal at the same time with all types of rejection and hurdles throughout your process?
I do think the more you say it, I do think entrepreneurial journey is very much like dating. And to be good at dating, you sort of have to have two things. One is have conviction in what you're doing, right? And with
Mhm.
dating, like for example, you know, there will be somebody who likes me for me, right? I'm not going to change myself for somebody. I may not be for everyone. Our idea, your idea as an entrepreneur may not be for everyone, but you have to have conviction through the work you've done to validate it that it will be for somebody. So having that foundation and reminding yourself of that foundation is really critical. And then just like with dating, you need to kind of have coping mechanisms. Um, and whatever it is, whether it's, take a break, if you're working with your friend, make sure that you like step aside from the business and have a friend moment. but rejection is real. And rejection is constant
Very
entrepreneurial
real.
currently. At some point, it becomes like a really, really rough scab that no longer bothers you because it's sort of, I remember the first time somebody said our idea wasn't great, and I honestly discombobulated. I was on the couch and I was really sad, and I was like reading, and I was reading about other great ideas that have taken off, like Airbnb and Tinder actually. And a lot of great companies didn't just take off, right? And you hear as an entrepreneur a lot of messaging that's sugar coated, like, oh, we got funded yesterday with like minimal efforts, $20 million. We have like viral ideas. That the reality is that happens very rarely. A lot of startups are really hard work, and there's tons of rejection before you hear yes, a lot of disappointment. And if you just don't let it be, what I did was like, I let it sort of prevent me from being productive and move forward. But you can't, you have to let it be something that just like rolls off your shoulder and become a little bit anesthetized to it, right? Just like we're dating, like not everyone's going to be for me.
Yeah.
Dust it off, have a coping mechanism. Somebody is out there that I'm gonna like and that's gonna like me for me, and move forward. The same thing with your business. Your business will be appropriate once you've done the research, you've done the work. If you really believe in it, it's a great idea and you've done the work, there will be people who say yes. And it's just a matter of not letting every hurdle trip you up permanently.
Really
But
Yeah.
great.
rejection is real. I mean, it's the most, having practiced law previously and lost cases and not always been successful for my clients, this hits differently because this feels like your baby, right? Your baby's
Right.
being beat. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, coping mechanisms and really having conviction are really key.
Truly crucial advice. And, I just love hearing about your app. Fast Forward is so on the cutting edge of what people need in this market. And I just was hoping that you could just give the listeners an idea of how someone who was interested in, learning about Fast Forward or using Fast Forward, how would they get the most out of the app and the experience?
I can take that. I think just like with any dating experience, it's really showing up really intentionally. I always think with any experience, even the first date, you kind of you get in what you put out. If you put in the effort, if you're showing up, if you're being diligent, if you're being active, if you're being responsive, if you're being your real self, you're going to get that back multiple fold. But if you're just sort of half-assing it, well, let's say ass, right? If you're
Yeah.
half-assing it, you're really not putting in the work, people are going to see it. Particularly with us, it's more amplified,
Yeah.
right? Because we're really gauging people's energy and vibe. And if your vibe is like sort of, I don't care, if that's not very attractive for anybody, women or men or anybody.
Right.
So I think to get the most out of any dating experience, particularly with fast forwards, it's really putting in the intentionality behind it, right? Like put your best face forward, take that 3 minutes to answer the questions, check in often, interact, respond. It's interesting, like beyond our video component, we really wanted to make the experience as real world as possible. And, when you ask what makes someone successful in real world dating, it's really momentum, right? Like you're not going to meet somebody and 3 months later say like, hey, what's up? It's really interacting, playing ping pong with like in communications and really moving towards a goalpost, which is meeting or next stage. So we created Fast Forward with that in mind. And in every aspect of your journey in Fast Forward, we kind of nudge you towards the next step. So we give you a little bit of time to say hello once you match. Then we give you a little bit of time to respond. But it can be vast because people lose interest, they out of sight, out of mind. And just like in real life, when you meet somebody, you're not sitting on them for months. You want to
No, when
keep
you're into someone, and you move,
yeah.
you move forward on it.
So part of your success on fast forward is really being intentional and moving forward and not just sitting on the message. And we know everyone's busy, is particularly in New York. But if you're interested in dating, really, that's work. You got to
Yeah.
put in the work. You got to find the time to respond.
Just
And
like marriage, that's also work. Of course.
There is.
Oh yeah.
that's a really good point, Michael, because people will go on dating apps and they want it to be like easy breezy. Like, I just want a million matches that are perfect. But like, that means you're probably not serious about dating or have a complete misconception what it's like to be in a relationship and marriage, because that is work constantly. So this is kind of exercising your muscle, like dating app and dating experience is exercising your muscle of what it's like to be in a relationship, which is work, like being communicative, like giving yourself, being intentional. And like even with the relationship, what you put in is what you get out, right?
Mhm.
100%.
I love
So
that. Yeah.
So, wow, that's all like amazing. So, what do you see for the future of fast forward, or even just like the future of online dating, especially in 2025, where everyone is still really into the whole remote thing? Everyone's still very virtual
yeah,
worlds. We didn't even touch on AI, but like everything.
but the buzzword everywhere is AI.
Mm.
We're cautiously implementing AI, but what I said before about exercising your dating muscle is really important to us. So like a lot of apps will take AI and they basically allow you to like auto move through dating. Like you have a message that they craft for you that you send to 10 people.
Oof.
You don't have to think about it. You really don't have to pay attention to the person that you're seeing. Um, you do not get to exercise your dating muscle, right? You want it to be easy. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be easier, but part of dating experience is showing your effort and putting in the work and thinking about it. Again, it's a prelude to your relationship when you're not going to be able to use AI to solve your relationships problem.
Mm.
So we're
Right.
using AI in the future really to optimize the experience by having better matches, using video as a way to sort of see more than just superficial qualities and match you based on that. Uh, but we're not going to rely too heavily on AI to, again, make an experience that's automated, that doesn't,
You don't want an artificial experience.
yeah,
Right.
that doesn't feel real. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what makes us really bad at relationships if we're not exercising that dating muscles. So, but I do think AI is a big component of what everyone's focusing on, and it's a buzzword, but like, I hate to burst everyone's bubble. Like we've done so much research on this. Like AI is not there, right? It's not there to be like everyone's like, oh, we have AI matching technology. It's like at the end of the day, it's machine learning. It's that existed for a while. It's really hard to crack it. So we want to be cautious about, giving false advertisements to anyone. We want to continuously attract the right users and use AI to sort of match them better. Um, some aspects of AI that we think will be helpful is kind of just helping with date ideas. That's creativity that we think maybe that doesn't really take you away from the dating experience. It just amplifies it. But the AI is big. I think niche dating is something people really care about. Like if dog people want to meet with other dog people,
Right.
polyamory is huge, huge in terms of next waves. But like if you're in general population, as am I, like none of that applies to you. I cast a wide net, I want to meet as many people as possible. I don't need them to be interest based. So for me, it's really having the right tools to authentically show up. And I think authenticity is going to be a big buzzword in dating because post COVID, I think we're all kind of past the bullshit, right? We just want to like stop pretending and
Want the real deal.
but it's like the AIs, the niche dating and like trying to crack that authenticity uh is going to be these are the big trends that everyone's focusing about. As a consumer, like all you want is an experience that allows you to get to the first date, the best first date in a relationship. So when I was a consumer, like that's all I really care about, right? Like, how are you helping me have a better experience? Like, I don't care what the buzzwords are. Like, if my experience sucks and I don't really get to feel like I'm getting anything out of it, then I don't care that you have the most cutting edge technology. So
Right.
we're
Amazing.
focused on experience, the right
Yeah.
experience.
I love all that forward thinking. So if someone is like listening to this and they're thinking, I need to fast forward into a better relationship or whatever the words
I
are,
love
and they
that.
want to download that, huh?
I love that slogan. Fast forward
Yeah,
into a relationship.
because maybe they're over the app they're on, or they're sitting in bars and they're like, I want to download this app. Can they? Where can they download it? How can they follow Fast Forward Dating? What are your socials? Where can people find the app?
Apple Store, the App Store, Google, the Google Store. Go ahead, Kat. Sorry.
No, go
No, you go ahead.
ahead. Yeah, so besides the app stores, we're both Android and iOS. We are on socials. We're pretty active on IG, at FFWD_dating. Yeah, I mean, download the app, try it. I think the idea is we're all using as many tools as possible. Why not give something else a try? And just as long as you show up authentically, there's sort of no way you could go wrong.
And if you put in the effort, you know that somebody else is putting in the effort too.
Good
Totally.
point.
Oh, I love that. And I will add too, now that people are listening to this and they've heard about it, you guys have some decals throughout New York City, like on the ground still from some previous marketing initiatives. So I saw one on the Upper East Side the other day on 80th
Yeah,
Street, like, on the ground. And then I saw some subway banners. So you guys have done a great job with like a marketing campaign.
that's like it, for any entrepreneurs, being creative and trying to come up with ways to create visibility. And that's really tough, beyond like I asked earlier about launching the product. Sorry, creating the product, launching the product is another sort of big issue. So being creative, trying to like come up with ways that are not as expensive. Like we're definitely not a Match, or Bumble yet. So just really,
Mm.
these are more high effort but lower cost initiatives that we're implementing and trying, and yeah, hopefully they pay off.
Awesome. So, Lauren, my wife, would you like to ask our quintessential question here to Katya
Oh,
and
yeah.
Aeen? I'll let you go
Oh,
ahead and
yes.
do it.
Okay, so this is like our quintessential question. The whole point of our podcast, and you're the first people we're going to ask this to, so your answers better be good. So, what
Uh,
is your number one piece of advice for those who want to make it as an app developer in New York City? You already touched on it, but like to sum it up, what's your number one piece of advice?
as an app developer, or just like to make it in New York, just being successful?
However you want to take it, either being successful, having a business, starting an app. What's your number one piece of advice for someone listening?
Like what you do.
I think that's really important because through this journey, you're going to be tested a lot. Be passionate and persistent. Um, it's really not an easy ride, but that's okay because anybody who tells you otherwise is probably lying. And there's a little bit of sort of a comfort to know that you're not unique in your experience. It's tough, but if you're passionate about it, uh, your work will pay off. It's really perseverance.
And if you have a partner, like who you're doing it with. Because
Yeah.
if you don't, it can turn into a real shit show.
One last thing, one thing that's kind of a little bit of a like not the big question, the answer to your question, but I think finding a network. Really, because what I'm telling you right now, entrepreneurship can be very isolating. And so you're in your head, you sort of, it's very easy to give up, even with the right partner, because you just feel like this is it, you have the worst experience, and like it's you. Finding a network of people who are similarly situated, also trying to build something, not only gives you opportunities here and there, whether it's marketing opportunities or cross promotion or partnerships, but helps you not feel alone in the journey. So I think just having the right community, building a community, investing in the community is will pay off.
Love that.
Fantastic advice. Well, thank you so much. This has been so informative, so much fun, and thank you for being our first guests. We hope you had a good time.
We
Thank you
hope
for
it didn't
having
fail.
us.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Here.
We'll have everything in the show notes so people can find the app, download it, and you'll have some new joiners soon, hopefully.
Wait, thank you. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.